What's going on, guys? CTG Matt back. You read the title. Today I feel like spreading some positivity. How am I going to go about doing that? I'm going to say one nice thing about every NBA team. Some of these have more nice things than others, obviously. You know, it's really hard to give you a bunch of positives for a team like the Wizards, no offense. It just really is. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, share, sub. We're going to jump into it right now. First team I have on the docket, we're going record-based. So the best record in the NBA currently is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, obviously, I could say something like you have the best record in the NBA. That's the easy one. You know, I don't like taking the easy way, though. I like saying something a little bit more specific. I'm going to talk about Evan Mobley's offensive jump. 17.7 points per game. That's a career high. He's shooting over 2 threes per game. That's a career high. He's taking more shots than he ever has before at 13 a game. That's career high. Although, yes, he is shooting the lowest effective field goal percentage of his career. Again, at least he's being more aggressive offensively. This is a guy who we've begged to see more from offensively the last few years. We called him stagnant last year. We said last year he stagnated as a player. This season, he's at least trying to make the jump. And seeing an aggressive Evan Mobley is definitely better than seeing not an aggressive Evan Mobley. Although yesterday he did struggle against Boston. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Boston's a hard team to beat, especially as a big man against Porzingis. But against other teams, he's had really big games. And I just like to see him be more aggressive and be the player that we thought he could really be. And especially considering that offense hasn't even been Evan Mobley's strong suit during his NBA career. We've known him more as a defensive guy. Just seeing him take any steps is better than seeing him take none at all. And his defense is still elite to boot with that. So, you know, the Cavs got the best version of Evan Mobley this season, in my opinion. For the Boston Celtics, again, it's another one where I could say second best record in the NBA. No, I'm going to be more specific. I'm going to say Jason Tatum. He looks recharged and better than ever. Tatum's jumpers are starting to fall. He's shooting 38% from 3. He's also shooting 76% at the rim, which is a career high. 76% at the rim is like Giannis range. This is the second best effective field goal percentage of his career behind his rookie season. But if you remember his rookie season, you remember that he didn't take a ton of shots. And when he did, they were open because he was playing with Kyrie, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, Marcus Morris. He was playing with a ton of guys who got him open looks. Now he is the guy. He is him. And he's fully arrived as an elite and actually efficient offensive player. This is the best version of Tatum you're ever going to see playmaking as well. He's currently averaging about 6 assists per game, which is a career high. And like I said in my last video, he's still not even averaging a career high in turnovers. So he's averaging a career high in assists, while still not even averaging his career high for turnovers. Those are positive signs for Jason Tatum's playmaking. The other day against Cleveland, yesterday actually as I record, he had a great game and he made some really good passes. He had a pass to Al Horford in the corner where if Horford hit it, might have actually won them the game. But he's had plenty of assist opportunities taken away from him as well because guys like Sam Hauser, guys like Al Horford, you know, guys like Drew Holiday aren't hitting their shots right now. I'd like to see what he can average when the whole team is hitting from 3, like they usually do, like they did last year. And again, he's averaging sub 3 turnovers per game for a guy who's in the 100th percentile for usage rate. That's pretty good. Oklahoma City Thunder, you've managed to hold the ship together without having a consistent center for a lot of the season. Chet Holmgren played 10 games and got hurt. 9 because he got hurt during the 10th game. So he only played 9 full games and he's hurt. Isaiah Hartenstein missed a bunch of time and has only played 5 games. Hart's been everything you've needed and everything you've hoped he would be. Hartenstein's been as advertised for this Thunder team, and they've needed consistent center play. He's averaging 15 points, 14 rebounds a night. That's incredible, while also averaging over a block a game. I mean, he's been everything that they've needed out of their center position, especially without Chet Holmgren. Now, ideally, you get Chet Holmgren back and you can play him with Isaiah Hartenstein. You know, you can move Chet to the 4, or you could just platoon them. Obviously, you know, one would come off the bench, but hopefully when Chet comes back, Isaiah Hartenstein's healthy, you can actually have both of them instead of just having one center like it's been the whole season. But like I said, the best thing about them is that you're the 3rd seed and you haven't had either one consistently. Houston Rockets. This has been a pleasant surprise. I like to see Houston up here. But Ime Udoka's defensive schemes are nasty. They're 2nd in defensive rating in the league right now. 2nd, they have a top 5 record in basketball, despite Jalen Green shooting 40, 30, 85 splits, and Freddie following it up with 40, 34, 83 splits. So their 2 of their top 3 scorers are shooting it really poorly right now. Really, really bad. And here's the thing, they're still 3rd in the league, or 4th in the league record-wise. There's a couple of untouchables on this team, but I think 2 that are kind of underrated, and not even underrated anymore. If you watch the Rockets, you know these 2, Amin and Tari. These 2 come in off the bench and wreck game plans. I watched Tari Eason rip Giannis a couple of times. I watched Amin Thompson just clamp up the best guards I've seen in the league. These guys are so sticky defensively, they should be untouchable. This team is must-watch defense. You don't hear that very often. When a team is must-see, usually it's like a Denver or something like that. They have a big score, a big piece in the middle. Houston doesn't really have that. They have Alperen, who's really good, but he might not even be an all-star this year. He probably should be, but you know what I mean? He isn't putting up like 20 and 10. He's not having the best season ever. But the thing is that they get production from everybody, and everyone plays defense. Even Alperen has chipped in defensively. So everyone buying into Ime Udoka's system and buying into Ime Udoka's toughness has really helped this team reach a new level, and I hope that it can just continue the rest of the season. But like I said, when Amin and Tari are on the floor together, that is like must-see TV, just because you're going to see some crazy defensive plays. Amin's had a couple of them. Amin obviously had the one pass after a steal to Jalen Green when Jalen boomed on Cade Cunningham. And like I said, I've seen Tari rip the best players in the league. This is just an unbelievable defensive duo that I just love watching. And it's made Houston one of the more fun teams to watch when I really didn't think they would be. Orlando Magic, I could say something like, Franz Wagner's taking the jump without Paolo. I'm not going to do that because that's the big one that everyone talks about. Instead, what I'm going to say is that they have unbelievable depth. Guys like Goga Bitadze, Mo Wagner, Tristan da Silva, John Isaac, Anthony Black. Somebody like Anthony Black didn't get much PT last year. John Isaac didn't play many games last year. Tristan da Silva was a rookie. And Goga is like a third center. And every time they play Goga and Mo, it's an incredible, they play great. They don't miss a step. Kind of their best attribute because Wendell is not durable at all. But when they have Goga in the game, Goga's a great rim protector. And then Mo is basically the same. I mean, he's not the best rim protector in the world, but he's really good offensively as well. And then obviously like Tristan da Silva, rookie, 4-year guy at college. I was a big fan of him coming out, and he's added another layer of size and just more defense. And he could shoot a little bit too. I'd like to see his shooting pick up a little bit more. And then Anthony Black, like I said, another sneaky hero of their season so far. They don't have a traditional point guard, but Anthony Black having the size, the ability to run a guard spot while also being like 6'7", it makes it very valuable. Goga Bitadze literally wasn't in the rotation, I don't think, at the start of the season, and now he's become like one of their top 3 best players to me, it feels like, obviously with Paolo out. But he's been just great. Rim protection-wise, he's been amazing. He had a spike block the other day that was just awesome to see. And if this team can make threes, if the Orlando Magic could make threes, man, this team would be tough to stop. Or if they could just win a damn road game. We'll talk about that in the things I dislike video a little bit more. But as for now, we're talking about things I like, and I love the depth that's on this team. Memphis Grizzlies, this was not a team I believed in heavy before the season started. I really didn't. I wasn't sure what to expect out of them. But if I'm being honest, I was a little bit harsh on them, and I'm eating my words right now. I'll backtrack a majority of what I said. Ja Morant has played 11 games, and they're the 4 seed in the tough West. And the biggest reason why is that they just keep hitting on picks. Guys like, I'll list them off. This wasn't a pick by them, but Scottie Pippen Jr., they picked up out of free agency and was kind of an afterthought. Jay Huff, another guy who's like 27, 28 years old. Nobody wanted him. They picked him up for the bare minimum, and now he's playing big, productive minutes for them. Santi Aldama, again, a guy that nobody really cared about in the draft process, but he has been very productive for them. Even though he's not shooting a 3-ball effectively well, really well, he still provides a lot of size for them and good defense. Santi Aldama's been a good pick. Jalen Wells was their big hit this season in the second round. Maybe, yeah, he was like 46 or something like that. Jalen Wells has been amazing for them, knocking down his threes. He's effectively taken Marcus Smart's starting spot. And then, of course, they hit their first round pick too, Zach Edey. Of course, his stats aren't like eye-popping, but when he's on the floor, he adds like a layer of size that they don't really have without him. And plus, he's stepping out and hitting threes, so if he's able to protect the rim, he can hit threes. And on top of that, he sets hard screens for Ja. It's kind of a match made in heaven for them. I doubted the Grizzlies a lot before the season, and I felt like rightfully so. Mainly because a guy like Scottie Pippen Jr., Jay Huff, Jalen Wells, these were guys that nobody really knew what to expect out of them. But obviously, I said it in a couple videos ago, and I'll say it again. Taylor Jenkins could get like good production out of me and you on the court. Golden State Warriors. It's been a little bit rough recently, don't get me wrong, but Andrew Wiggins is legitimately good again. He's shooting 46% from the field, 41% from three. 41% from three, I believe, is a career high, and he's still playing good defense on top of that. He's back to being two-way Wiggs. This is like the fringe, well, he did make an all-star game. This is like the sad all-star Andrew Wiggins that we saw from a few years ago, where he was playing good defense, hitting his threes, playing his role in the offense, and he's just being really effective and efficient. Like I said, the waters in San Francisco, Golden State, have been a little bit choppy recently, don't get me wrong, but it's not Andrew Wiggins' fault. He's had some really decent games. He's putting up between like 16 to 20 points per game. He had a 30 ball against the Pelicans, maybe. It's just not Wiggins' fault if they're struggling. It's just kind of how the team's built. Yeah, you can have a 12-man rotation, but your second leading scorer right now is Andrew Wiggins at like 13 a game. You need more consistent stars at the top. At least one more star. Again, that's another conversation for the next video. But like I said, the Warriors are struggling recently. It's not Andrew Wiggins' fault. New York Knicks. A Cat is on the best offensive run that I've seen out of him, maybe in his career, to be honest. He's averaging over 25 points per game, and it's his highest mark since 2020 when he only played 30 games because of the COVID season. Cat's on an absolute heater, and it seems like the Knicks are kind of making it a priority to get the ball in his hands more. He's been so efficient, too. Like I said, 45% from three, bro. Do you realize how ridiculous that is? Like, that's really, really efficient. And then on top of that, 13 rebounds per game. That's a career high. We always criticize Cat's defense, rightfully so. He's still not really a good defensive five-man. However, he's closing possessions with his good rebounding. That's kind of half of playing defense. You know, you can put in all the effort in the world, but if you allow the offensive rebound, it really doesn't matter. And Cat's helping by closing out possessions. And on top of that, when he's giving you over 25 a game, shooting 45% from three, he loves that trailer three. I love seeing him take the trailer threes. He'll always struggle defensively as a five-man, but right now, as the full-time five for New York, he's been impeccable offensively. Beautiful to watch. Just need Mitchell Robinson back to cover up his holes defensively. But otherwise than that, Cat's been really, really good. For the Dallas Mavericks, Luka's missed about 5 or 6 games, I think, and the Mavs didn't miss a beat. Najee Marshall is taking people off the dribble. What? Yeah, it's really random. They're getting production from a lot of guys that I'm like, really? Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes was an afterthought. I'm pretty sure Detroit let him walk. The Knicks traded him to Detroit. Detroit let him walk. He's been a lot of different places, and the other night he had a crazy, crazy game. Kyrie's doing his part, as per usual. You know what you're going to get out of Kyrie. But like even PJ Washington, again, is taking people off the dribble. Like, what is happening? Obviously, Luka coming back soon means less opportunities for guys like PJ, Najee, Quentin. Actually, last night, I think, was Luka's first game back against Portland, and Quentin still had like 25. So I guess his opportunities don't go away, but obviously somebody like Najee Marshall with Luka back is now designated and relegated to like go to the corner. Nothing wrong with that. He's still making good money doing it. But yeah, with Luka being out, they took on some pretty decent competition, and they've impressed me pretty well. And like I said, it's all because they're getting contributions from everybody. Like Gafford's averaging 12.5 a game. Daniel Gafford. And like I said, Najee Marshall, Quentin Grimes, Jaden Hardy. They're getting good production out of everybody right now. And yeah, that's a good thing to see if you're Jason Kidd. Another team where the waters are getting a little bit choppy right now, it's the Lakers. The pick that I'm going to go with for their bright spot is kind of Dalton Connect. It's the obvious one. You know, like Austin Reeves has been hit or miss, 80s elite. LeBron is LeBron. You know, he's kind of coasting right now. But Dalton Connect has been very, very good in his rookie season. Of course, he's more developed, you know, older rookie. So you kind of knew he was going to come in and produce. But what you're getting out of him is an over 40% shooter who's like 6'7", can play the 2 or the 3. He's been as solid as you can be for a rookie, and especially for a guy playing with LeBron. Let's be honest here. Shooters in recent history combining with LeBron hasn't been the greatest combination. You know, a guy can shoot 45% from 3. They join a LeBron-led team, and suddenly they're down to 35%. It's a LeBron tax. So it's good to see Dalton Connect come in and actually make a difference and make an impact. If you're the Lakers, though, how many more times can you just draft anybody but a white player? Because that's all that seems to work for you is drafting white guys. For the Clippers, it's the defense. It's the defense, man. They're 6th in defensive rating. Despite getting torched by Boston. You take that Boston game off where the Celtics put up like $140 on them, you have a top 5 defense, I feel like. And James Harden is obviously carrying the load offensively with Norman Powell. You know, James Harden is the system. I'll keep saying that. He's been incredible this season. Not incredible. Still not shooting the ball really well from anywhere. But when it's James Harden creating most of the shots for himself, of course, he's like itching 30. He's like over 35, man. How much can you really expect out of him? But then obviously when you're getting production out of Norman Powell, you know, he's their leading scorer, shooting over 45% from three, over 47% from the field. What more can you ask for out of Norman Powell? And then the rest of the team is just great defenders. You got Chris Dunn, Derrick Jones Jr., Amir Coffey, Trey Mann, Zubats. Big props to Zubats. He's been very, very good. We love Big Zoo around here, obviously. And just the fact that they've been able to keep afloat without Kawhi Leonard is kind of impressive to me, to be honest. This was another team where I was like, why would they sign Derrick Jones Jr. in the offseason? Why are they signing KPJ? Why are they signing Chris Dunn? It's keeping them afloat now. And you just hope that Kawhi coming back will bring them from like a 6 seed contender to like a 3. You know, you hope. I'm not sure when Kawhi is coming back, though. That's a different story. But as for right now, them being fun to watch is good enough for me when they're a team I thought could easily be like 12th or 13th. Phoenix Suns, this is another team that's kind of held the ship steady despite missing star players. Beal and Durant have both missed games. Even Grayson Allen's missed some time. They're the 8th best offense in the league, once again, while being down 2 of their top 3 players for portions of time. Of course, without Durant, they really struggled. They struggled. And then Ryan Dunn's cooling down, which is sad to see. But like KD coming back obviously means, you know, more open shots for the role players and stuff like that. Maybe it'll help open up Ryan Dunn's game a little bit more. And Tyus Jones was everything they advertised. 7 assists to 1 turnover, I think he's at right now. Oof, that's so beautiful to see. Yeah, the Suns are a decent team. I'm still not sure what their ceiling is, what their best is. But for right now, I mean, they're having fun. You know, Oso Iguodala is getting burned. He had a couple of nice dunks like last week. You know, they have a bunch of guys that can contribute. It's just getting KD back, getting Durant back, and hopefully all 3 can play together. That's been a big issue with KD teams in recent history, is that somebody gets hurt consistently. You just got to hope that one of them can stay healthy. You know, you just got to hope they can stay healthy long enough. Miami Heat, Tyler Hero's offensive jump. He is an all-star this season, basically. 24, 5, and 5 on 47, 42, 87 splits. That's great. And he hasn't missed a game either. This is a guy who's never played over 70 games in a season. He's been pretty durable so far. So those 2 things right there, offensive jump, durability. 2 things that were much needed out of Tyler Hero that we've gotten so far, and that's a good thing. He's carrying the offensive load despite like Jimmy Butler taking 5 shots a game sometimes. Like he took 9 the other night. That's just not enough, man, and it's so irritating and kind of sad, to be honest. And then obviously Bam's having a down year as well. Bam's offensive game has been rough. He's taking more threes though, and he hit a dagger 3 the other night. So, you know, Bam's taking more threes. That's good to see. But Tyler Hero's been the key to their offense. He's just letting it go this year. And it's been nice to see. Like I said, 24, 5, and 5. That's super respectable. Good on him. Milwaukee Bucks, it's got to be honest. This guy's picking up MVP buzz. He had a 50-point triple-double the other day, I think it was, or maybe last night. He's shooting 61% in the mid-range. It's Giannis, 61% in the mid-range. That's incredible. 33 points per game, 40-point triple-double, still blocking a bunch of shots. Just an incredible season all around. He's picking up MVP buzz. He's a guy who, if he could get his team to a top 3 seed, he might take MVP away from Jokic. He's like one of the only guys in the league that can do that effectively. You know, they've kind of shaken off their rough start to the season. And yeah, it's crazy that they have to rely on him this much early in the season. But I don't really care. It's kind of spoiling us with great Giannis basketball night in and night out. So I guess it's good. I guess it's good for me. Next up, Denver Nuggets. It's Christian Brown. I mentioned him in my role players I really like video. This player development that he's gone through this season has been incredible. 16 points per game on 58.5, 48, 78 splits. 48% from 3. He's only taking like 2 or 3 a game, but still, that's efficient. He plays great guard defense, as he always has. But coming into this season, the biggest question mark for the Nuggets was outside of Jamal, Yoke, and MP, who would be the guys to step it up offensively? Aaron Gordon's not a big-time scorer, so you wondered who would it be, and Christian Brown has undoubtedly been that guy. I mean, 16 points per game. Can't get much better than that. And although, like I said, he only takes about 2 to 3 threes a game, it's the Denver Nuggets. Them as a team they don't take many threes. But he's helping this team in multiple ways, being good defensively, and on top of that, being good offensively and reliable at this point. He's the only guy that's played every game for them, so that's another one. He's an Iron Man. So it's just an impressive season all around from Christian Braun. He was a guy who I kind of doubted going into the year, but I've given him so many props this season. Good season for him. San Antonio Spurs. Wemby is turning the corner. Last game, Wemby had 34, 11, and 14 with 3 blocks. I don't love how many threes he takes. I don't think I will, but that's kind of what the Spurs want for his development. If that's what they want and that's what Wemby wants, I can't really argue it. Another fun thing about the Spurs is that they have 8 guys averaging over 10 points per game. That's group production. Of course, Keldon and Vassell and Sochan haven't played a ton of games this year, but when they're on, they're playing well. Sohan especially was very much impressive before that injury. Hopefully he comes back soon and is still effective. But Keldon and Vassell have been nice added, what do they call it? Facets. That's the word. Facets to their offense that they haven't had in years, or that they had last year, but you know, the whole team is just developing. Bringing along Chris Paul was a really good decision. He's giving Wemby the ball. You know, on top of that, Stephon Castle's turning a corner. This Spurs team has me excited for the future. Last year, the whole thing with the Spurs was who's going to help Wemby. Now, this year, it's a positive tone where it's like, who's going to help Wemby tonight? You know, last season, it was who's going to help Wemby in a way where it was like, I don't know if anybody will. Now it's, who's it going to be? I think in the 34-point triple-double game, his second leading scorer was Champagnie. I think. No, it was Devin Vassell off the bench with 21. Darn it. I thought it was Champagnie. He had 19, though. Third leading scorer. Julian Champagnie, another guy who's having a good year. Shout out to the Spurs, man. Atlanta Hawks, player development's been going well. Trae Young's averaging 13 assists, over 13 assists per game. That leads the league. That's one guy you drafted. DeAndre Hunter's averaging like 21 off the bench. That's another guy you drafted. Jalen Johnson's over 20. That's a guy you drafted. You know, and then on top of that, you brought in Dyson Daniels in a trade last year. He didn't get much PT last year with the Pelicans. This season, he's getting a ton of PT. He's been really good as well, averaging over 3 steals a night. Still putting up like 15 or 16 a game, too. They gave Dyson Daniels some confidence, and he has kind of repaid them with a really good season so far. The Hawks have been mid. They don't play good against bad teams. They play good against good teams and play bad against bad teams. So they're very much a play down to competition type of team. But in terms of how good they've been this year, it hasn't been the prettiest. But you could see the player development still there. And, you know, I always say it, and I'll continue to say it, even with the Nuggets, when you develop your own guy, it feels better. You know, you could sign or trade for all the talent in the world, but when you develop one of those guys who helps you win, it feels a little bit better. You grow a little bit more attached to him, you know. Indiana Pacers, man, there is not a ton here. I don't know really what to say other than Benedict Mathurin and Pascal. Mathurin's healthy. He missed basically all of last year, it felt like. And this year he's come back playing really well, averaging over 18.5 points per game. I mentioned him in my last video, so I don't really want to talk about him at length here. Pascal's been his normal self, but the rest of the team, it is really hard to come up with a lot of positives for this Pacers team. Their pace is down. Their offense is down. Halliburton on the road has been abysmal. That's probably going to be my negative in the next video, but as for positives, man, there isn't a ton. I'm going to have to say Benedict Mathurin, that's about it. Nets, Dorian Finney-Smith, Cam Johnson, Dennis Schroeder. They've all played well and have showed that they can be a really positive asset for any team that wants to make a move for them. At the midseason point, everyone still predicts that they'll make some moves and get rid of a Cam Johnson, Dennis Schroeder, and DFS. And you might be able to get a couple of first-round picks for those guys with how good they've been this season. Jordy Fernandez seems like he's been a pretty good coach. They gave him a mid-roster, and he's provided some decent results. You know, so that shows that he could be your coach of the future, maybe. And he's got 9 wins in the first 21 games. This team was projected to win like 15 this season, 15 to 18. So already having 9 wins in your first 21 games is respectable as hell. You wonder what they're going to be like after the deadline. But as for right now, you've seen Jordy Fernandez win with a semi-competent team around, and I'd like to see him with a good team. So, you know, hit the reset button. Hopefully they land on their picks. They'll be back in a few years. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, I don't know what to put really here either. I'm going to have to go with Rob Dillingham. When he gets PT, he's looked like a real player. Unfortunately, still doesn't get PT very often. I'm not saying Rob Dillingham should be getting 30 minutes per game, but it isn't really too much to ask him to get 20 minutes a night, especially when Mike Conley's not really doing anything. You know, your offense is currently 19th ranked in the league. It's almost a bottom 10 offense, and it's very much do his ass basketball with Randall and Edwards. maybe you can get somebody like Dilly in there. The only time Dilly got extended burn and he played over like 26 minutes was the game where he had like 14 points and 7 assists. That's offense. Like I said, obviously he shouldn't be playing 30 minutes a game, but if your offense is currently ranked 19th, I think Dillingham could get that up to like 15th maybe. You know, he's not the savior of the season. The season still looks really, really rough for them. But as for right now, like, get Rob Dillingham more PT if your team isn't scoring the basketball. Sacramento Kings, the Sabonis shooting jump is here. He's currently 21 of 49 from 3. That's actually a really respectable clip, and of course that helps open up the offense for the rest of your team. Fox and DeMar love to work mid-range, and if Sabonis can help space the floor out even more, that'll obviously help their game a little bit more. DeMar and Fox seem to be getting more comfortable playing with each other. You know, for stretches, they've looked kind of bad, and then for stretches, they look kind of good. Obviously, the other positive I have is Malik Monk. Man, he's still one of my favorite underrated players in basketball. Malik Monk can come in and give you like 25 and 9, and it'll be a blink of an eye, and it's a fun 25 and 9. It just sucks that this team's kind of underperforming expectations because like Sabonis shooting jump and Malik Monk being awesome and Keon Ellis being great. You know, nobody really cares because look at their record. It's not good. The Pistons are competitive. That's a win in and of itself. They play a close game just about every night. Win or lose, at the end of the day, they show signs of life, and they play with heart, unlike last season. The 12th ranked defense in basketball. That's a lot better than I thought it would be. Isaiah Stewart's been a big part of that. You know, obviously, like Jalen Duren in the paint, but they have some decent individual defenders that are really helping out. Malik Beasley has been a great floor spacer, a much-needed floor spacer. He's shooting about 40% from outside. They needed that desperately. Last season, they couldn't make a 3. To a lesser extent, Tim Hardaway Jr. has been like that too. But obviously, he's a little more sporadic. His makes are like in bunches, hot or not shooter. But the other one is Cade's progression. You know, he's averaging like over 7 assists a game. Cade's been having them running, and soon enough, I think we'll be back to seeing the motor Cade running in the playoffs. You know, I'm happy for Detroit. I said they were going to be a fun team, and guess what they've been? One of the most fun teams to watch. Starting to get into the nitty-gritty, Chicago Bulls, they're fun also. Their offense is currently ranked 15th in the league. Their pace is the best in the league, and I love a team that gets out and runs, especially a young one. As much hate as I've given Nikola Vucevic over the last few years, he's kind of earned some respect this season. He's been really good. He's shooting like 45% from 3, averaging over 20 a game again, and his defense is still a question mark, but some team is going to trade for him thinking that they're getting this 46% shooter. I don't know if that's going to sustain, but he's been incredible so far this season. Zach LaVine has worked his value back up. If they decide to sell, they should. They really should. Guys like Vooch, LaVine, Torrey Craig have all played their ways into getting them picks. LaVine might get them a first or two, and then Vooch might get them first, a couple of seconds, I'd say, higher or more than likely. But they played their value up, and the Bulls should hopefully decide to move them at the deadline. But as for right now, they're running, they're gunning. Modest Bazelis is getting PT again, which makes me so happy. Just keep playing Modest. Keep playing Modest. Portland Trailblazers, Donovan Clingan looks like an actual good high upside player. The young guards haven't really impressed me a ton. Simons and Sharp specifically. Same with Scoot. They haven't really impressed me a ton. So I'm leaving it to the big men. And the 2 big men, not the third one. Ayton is not getting thrown in there. But Rob and Don, there we go, have been really impressive. Both are averaging 2 blocks a game, basically. Clingan's a little bit over. Clingan's averaging over 2 blocks a game in 17 minutes per game. That's really good. And then Rob's averaging 2 blocks per game in like 20 minutes a game, 22 maybe. And that's also really impressive. Denny Avdia is starting to pick it up after I literally made a video saying he's been disappointing me. Of course, the Matt curse always comes around and punches me in the nose. It's just how it is. But as for Portland itself, the 2 big men, Rob and Don, have certainly impressed me to an extent. And I don't know what this team is on. I don't know what they're going to do in the future. But as for right now, move DeAndre Ayton to the first person that calls. Now we're getting into the area where I just straight up call it difficult. It's the Charlotte Hornets. Dark times have really come upon the Hornets recently. LaMelo's out, Trey Mann's out, Grant Williams done, Miles Bridges done, Mark Williams done. What the hell happened? Brandon Miller has the neon green light now. And then Salon, Salon, I don't know, is getting good minutes now. He's not really doing great. He's just kind of there. But yeah, Brandon Miller's having a neon green light. That's interesting. They got Taj freaking Gibson on roster. Bro, how does Taj Gibson keep getting calls, bro? I don't... There's no other centers in the league, bro. It's just Taj Gibson when you need one. I don't know. But it's kind of been an interesting experience watching them, specifically Brandon Miller over the last few games. They never get anything, bro. They can't have anything fun. Raptors, Ochai Agbaji shooting close to 50% from 3-on-4 attempts per game. Nobody cares about that, but that's kind of cool, right? Isn't it? RJ, the last 5 games, has impressed me a ton, and then Scotty Barnes is starting to work back into the fold his last five or so games. RJ Barrett recently has actually impressed me a ton. 30 points in a game, 11 assists in another game. 7 rebounds, 7 assists. He's been consistently decent over the last 5 or so games, scoring the ball too. It's really hard to pick out more positives than that. Jakob Poeltl. Trade Jakob Poeltl to a good team, bro. He really deserves it. He has been playing super well this season. He's won me a ton of money on parlays. I love me some Jakob Poeltl. The 76ers, where there's only one bright spot. Tyrese Maxey's okay. He's a bright spot. But we already knew Tyrese Maxey was an all-star type guy. It's Jared McCain. It's got to be. I mean, Maxey's been solid. We already knew he was an all-star, like I just said. But McCain, on the other hand, has been like their only consistent offense other than them, and that's no bueno. Obviously you paid Paul George and Embiid to be your stars, and neither one's really showing up to work. Paul George came back. He looked good. Not really good, but like good. He's passing the ball well. He's hitting the open man. The other thing he's not hitting his shots, which is kind of needed. But as for right now, it's been the Jared McCain show, and that's been I haven't been watching. Honestly, I can't watch it anymore. Maybe if they get good again, but as for right now, I can't do it. Utah Jazz, John Collins and Colin Sexton. The Collins, John Collins and Colin Sexton. JC over his last 5 games is averaging 19 and 12. That's good production. And about a block a game as well. Sexton, last 7 games, he's putting up almost 20 a game. I'm a big fan of both of those guys. And I'm not sure if Collins is going to get traded because I think he has an option. That might scare some teams away from trading for him. He has a player option. But if somebody takes the trade for John Collins, you're going to get a decent player, So, I don't know. I don't know anything about – I don't know what to say about the Jazz. Colin Sexton got a game winner wiped away by Will Hardy the other day. That's a tough one to see. But Will Hardy is – people hate Will Hardy and say he's a bad coach. And I'm like, how would you even know? This team is terrible. How would you even know if Will Hardy's a good coach? When he was given a competent roster with Conley and they still had Malik Beasley maybe around that time – and they had good players when he first landed there. Clarkson was still getting big minutes. When he first landed there, they were actually a pretty competent team. But once they got rid of Conley and rid of, was it Vando? And then maybe somebody else. I mean, once they got rid of all their guys, this team's gutted. What more do you want out of them? Down to the last 2. This is the penultimate Pelicans is what I'll call this. It's getting difficult to say positives, but Yves Missi, I said it before, he reminds me of Clint Capella. He's averaging 8 and 7 with 1.5 blocks per game. He's a good lob threat too, and yeah, plays with some physicality. Might be their center of the future, but there's really no way to tell because none of their starters are playing except for DeJounte. He just came back and had a pretty decent game, and Brandon Ingram's had some good games, but this team is still in the gutter. I said the Pelicans were in the gutter, but we're on to the last team. It's the Wizards. It's the Wizards. What do I even? What do you want me to say? Jordan Poole shooting over 40% from 3? Cool. Nobody really cares. I don't know what to say about the Wizards, bro. I was debating on making a full video about them, but I saw Pee-wee to Plug Pierre made a good video about them. I don't want to do that same thing and just regurgitate the same points, so I just kind of said screw the Wizards. I don't know what to say, bro. I'm dumbfounded by this team. They didn't win a single game this month. The whole month of November, they didn't win a game. Come on, bro. Get Kuzma off that team. He's been awful. All right, that's the end of my Wizards rant. I can't talk about them anymore. If you enjoyed, like, comment, share, sub. My voice is gone. I'm going to go catch the game. See you guys in the next one.